Hey y'all, my name's Katie if you don't already know me, and welcome to my channel. The last time we were here, I talked about all the terrible things that you could do to your mom. I have done them, and more, I'm sure. Me and my mom have always had a rough relationship. We're very close and we love each other, but when we bump heads, it is bad. So when I was in my addiction, I just made it worse. So today I'm going to continue the story and I'm going to get into some things that are very deep and personal for me. I've been going to therapy for a long time for this now. But you know what? I'm just going to get it out there because I know there are people just like me who need the help. And I want y'all to know again, I've been there and you can be sober. You can get here. It is not easy, but you can do it. So here we go. After I wrecked the truck and I shot all the dope up in a shed, I called Chris and told him that I needed a ride. He was back in Nashville at this point, staying with his friend. We'll call him Cody. And he was at Cody's house. And I didn't tell him what I had done, but I told him that I needed him to come get me ASAP and that I had wrecked the truck. So he did. He comes and gets me. Um, you know, we may not have the best relationship or been in the best way, but we were always there for each other. And he comes and gets me. I end up staying at Cody's house with him for a couple of days. Now, this was right before Christmas, y'all. So, Christmas is coming around, and Cody and his sisters were going through some family things. And, um, I shouldn't be here to mow my yard right now. They mow it on Tuesdays. What is today? Oh, and they were going through some family things. So Christmas was coming up, and they were like, basically, we don't want y'all staying here for Christmas. Like, we want to have Christmas with our family without two bums sleeping at our house. So, okay, so we called Shay, and I believe Shay come and got us. And of course, we're back, we're still homeless on the street. So Christmas Eve, we slept in her car. And y'all, I remember it being so cold in there. We literally had like 20 blankets. And I would buy a gallon of gas every night to put in her car so we could turn it on and off throughout the night to warm up. I mean, it was just freezing. So, like I said, Christmas come and gone. I spent my Christmas in a car, freezing. My mother had cut my phone off, which, I mean, I guess she had every right to, right? She had cut my phone off, so I'm homeless. I have no way to get a hold of anybody or do anything. But I had an app on my phone, so would go to McDonald's to have Wi-Fi to check the app. I checked the app, and we had been contacted by somebody that we knew that we used to score dope with. We meet up with them, and they knew we were homeless, and they had money, and we're like, why don't you guys come stay with us for a few days, make some money and get your own room, but at least you'll have a place to sleep. So we did. And Chris worked for, let's call him, I don't know, Blake. Chris worked for Blake's brother. Let me back up. It was two people that we were going to stay with. We'll call them Amanda and Blake. Okay. And so we go to stay with them, and they were living in a hotel. They were on dope too, but Blake's brother had a business, and he did some work with him. So Chris went to work with Blake's brother to make some money for us to be able to, get well and save up to get a room. And I stayed back and did some little odd end things and helped Amanda with things so she could make some money. And at the time, I didn't know how they were making money or getting by, but it was beknownst to me that she had sugar daddies, okay? So I would help her get dressed up and get her makeup done for her sugar daddies to come and get her. And they would give me a little bit of money for helping her with that. And then I got introduced to some of her sugar daddies and started making some money myself. So once I got introduced to them and started making some money myself, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I got this. Like, I'm done. I can play some old men or whatever and make a little bit of money. So we got our own room. And I started staying at a weekly stay. And we stayed here for a few weeks, maybe a month at most. It wasn't too long. Now, this part is hard for me to talk about. I have serious PTSD over this, but I'll just say the bare minimum and move on because I don't want to skip it. I don't want to lie and I don't want to leave important things out. So let's say we were staying in a weekly stay for a while, and one night there was a robbery that we were involved in, and it was really, really bad. They tortured us mentally and did a whole lot of crazy things, and we ended up locking ourselves in the bathroom until the police came. Somebody ended up calling the police, which is what we were trying to do. I remember banging on walls trying to get their attention, someone's attention, anybody's, to save us. I remember sitting in the bathroom. We were in there for hours. I remember closing my eyes as tight as I could and praying to God that if I was going to die then, to just let it be over, that I didn't want to see it happen. I was petrified. So, anyway, the cops end up coming and take me to the hospital and take Chris to the hospital. We were the only two there at the time when the police got up to the room. Now, in the police report, it states that Chris was a part of this robbery, that when they came in, he was abusing me and dragging me all around. Um, and Chris ended up getting charged with some things. I'm not going to go into detail on any of this. There's plenty of he said and she said and what people do and don't believe what happened this night. But the truth is, the only people that know are Chris and I and the others that were there. And you know what? They got to live with it. So I'm just going to move on. So I end up going to the hospital. I was in such bad shape, they had me in the hospital under a fake name. And I remember being in there and just being petrified. I was shaken to my core. And I was born with an irregular heartbeat, so I remember them telling me that I was going to set off my heart monitor. Oh, I kept setting off my heart monitor, so I needed to calm down. I just remember it being a really long night. I remember not being able to use the bathroom. I remember feeling the urge to pee so much, and I kept asking my nurse to go, and I couldn't physically get up and go to the bathroom, so they were putting a pan under me, and I couldn't pee. I had to so badly. They ended up putting a catheter in me, and y'all, they pulled almost a gallon of urine out of me when they put that catheter in me. um, I don't know if y'all know what fight or flight mode is, but when your body enters that mode, you can't do normal things like go to the bathroom. You can feel the urge, but you can't because your body's too in protective mode. It's like shutting down. They finally asked me the next day if I wanted anyone, if I wanted to talk to anyone, or wanted to see anyone. and I told them I wanted my mom. They didn't tell me they were going to release me, but they ended up calling my mom, and my mom came and told me I could be released and asked if I wanted to be released to my mother. So I was like, yeah, I want to go with my mom. It was the only place I felt, safe and comfortable. So they had told my mom that I had drugs in my system, or that I was coming off drugs. I had been withdrawing the entire time I'd been with them. So my mom knew I was going to be sick. I had nowhere to go, y'all. I couldn't stay with my mom at this time. This was after all the terrible things I had done. And I was in such a bad place. So I ended up going back to Nashville, and um, Blake and Amanda had a house. Now, I didn't know Blake and Amanda. We bought drugs from the same people. That's the only way I knew them. And Chris is in jail still at this time, so I didn't have anybody else to be with, or, if I was going to sleep on the streets, who was I going to sleep on the streets with? It was just crazy. So Blake and Amanda had gotten in contact with me and was like, hey, we heard what happened. They seen all the cops pull up outside the weekly stay and come into my room that night. So they were like, you can come and stay with us and get some rest and we'll take care of you. And at this point in my mind, I was so beaten and terrified. I didn't want to be alone. I knew I couldn't be at home with my family. And I knew I couldn't be dope sick. So I went to stay with them. And when I got there, it was a big, beautiful home. I couldn't believe they were staying in such a cheap weekly stay, the week before, 2 weeks before. And what was this was like another apartment type weekly deal thing they were living in, but it was beautiful. I believe it was owned by Marriott. Sorry, y'all, I had to move because, again, the sun. I came in here and there was no sun, and now there's sun in my face. So, anyway, I remember going to stay with them, and I stayed with them for 6 days. And during those 6 days, um, every day I would wake up to the biggest breakfast like you could imagine. And it was like from Cracker Barrel, or, places like that, like house type breakfast places. That sounds so stupid, but it was like literally everything that was on the menu. I would wake up to it being downstairs. And I had my own room there too, my own bathroom and everything. So I would go downstairs and eat and shower and just sleep. They would tell me I just needed to sleep. They would give me dope so I wasn't dope sick. So I'm here. I have a roof over my head. This is a beautiful home. I'm eating. I'm not sick. I'm even getting high. And I'm sleeping. I'm getting rest to recover from everything I just went through. And I'm not alone. There would be times Amanda was sleeping with me just about every night because I was petrified. I would sleep during the day just fine. Y'all, I was so mentally exhausted. I barely remember anything from this week because I just remember eating and showering and sleeping, and that was it. So at the seventh day, I'm starting to feel better. Like I'm like recovered. And I remember wanting to go make my own money and do my own thing. I knew that this was going to come with consequence. In the dope game, like this just doesn't happen. People just don't take care of you and give you a place to live and give you dope and cigarettes and you don't have to pay it back. So I remember waking up this day, and oh, I forgot to say, there were two other girls there too. I just wasn't close with them like I was Amanda. There was me, Amanda, two other girls. I'm not even going to name them because they're irrelevant, but there was four women. Me, Amanda, these two girls. I remember the names they went by, but I don't know the real names. And then there was Blake. Well, I remember that day wanting to go make my own money and do my own thing and stuff like that. Sorry, on my phone ring. So anyway, I remember wanting to go make my own money and like do my own thing. And I get up and Blake and Amanda and the other two girls are downstairs in the kitchen. And they're all sitting around the bar and everybody's like getting breakfast, but this was really like after lunch. They had the weirdest schedule and they're waiting on the dope man to come. And I remember having the conversation with Blake about wanting to go make my own money and do my own thing so I could start to like pay him back because I'm like, I know I owe you money. And he's like, no, 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 like I did this for you. You needed somebody to take care of you. Like you were going through some shit. Like it's all good. I'm like, okay, well, I think I'm gonna contact my friend Shay and like leave now. And I realized that the phone I did have is gone. Like the phone that I was using for Wi-Fi. Like I haven't had that phone the whole time I've been here. And there was a phone in my room, but it wasn't hooked to anything. I remember the other, as I'm getting in this conversation with Blake, and I'm like pushing that I want to leave, Blake starts to explain to me how they're a family there. They all take care of each other and they all help each other. And he protects all of them, but they all make money and they all take care of one another. And in my mind, at first, I'm like, well, okay, of course, like, I want a family. I want to have a roof over my head. I want to have nice things. Like, all these girls are dope addicts and they got their nails done. They got nice clothes. They're living in this nice house. Like, what the fuck are we doing? If I only knew what kind of place that I had been sleeping in for a week, I would have never walked in there in the first place. I never dreamed that I would find myself in a sex trafficking prostitution ring, but I did. The one thing I thought I'd never do for drugs, I was forced to start doing this day. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into it, and I don't want, I, honestly, I don't care what y'all think being forced into something is. But I was in a very, very fucked up place mentally. I had just been caught in a robbery, a home invasion, and tore down mentally. I just made it to where I could never go home. And I've just slept for a week in the middle of a sex trafficking prostitution ring. And now I have people that I owe and are not going to physically let me leave. So, I did what I had to do. I have a lot of bad memories from this time in my life. You know, me and Chris never really had the best relationship, but I remember in my fucked up state, no matter what anybody had told me had happened, wishing that he would be there to save me, wishing that anybody would. I can't tell you how many days I prayed for someone, anyone. And I remember telling Blake when we had gotten into it really bad one day that I was gonna find a way out and contact the police. And he said, "Oh, really? You think the cops are gonna believe a junkie?" He was right. I think this is the first time in my life where I truly felt like I wasn't worth anything and somebody was willing to pay for me. All my prayers were being heard somewhere. I spent 11 days in this hellhole, this beautiful hellhole. If you would look at it inside and out, you would not have any idea that that was what was going on behind those doors. Somebody was listening to my prayers and sent me the right motherfucker. And I don't want to give out this guy's personal information because, you know, I know he's got a family and whatnot. Somebody had paid to meet me. And when he met me and got upstairs to me, we started to talk. And he could tell that I remember the words he said to me was, "You don't belong here." And I just looked at him and he told me that I looked so sad. And I remember at this moment, I remember at this point, I was so robotic. It was so get them in, get them done, and get them out. The faster I get this over with, the faster I can take a shower and go to sleep. And it's over for the day. But this guy, in my robotic way, he stopped me and told me he just wanted to talk to me. And I asked him how much time he paid for, and he told me. He asked me what my real name was, and I told him. I told him everything. I told him about the abuse going on in the house, physical and mental, how I'd gotten in that situation, and how I felt stuck there, and why I couldn't leave. And he helped get a plan to get me out. And days later, he paid to see me again, and he got me out. He had paid to see me, and when he came in, like, went out, and I guess he had always went to the gas station to get cigarettes or something around that same time, and I was able to run. I made it out that door and I ran and ran and ran. And I got in that guy's car a couple blocks away. And he took me to where Shay was staying in a hotel. And that's how I got out. Didn't want to get too deep into this because this is a part of my life that I'm still dealing with mentally and emotionally. And yeah, so But I wanted to be honest and forthcoming with you and on this channel because I know there are others who are just like me who need help and who need someone to talk to and someone who understands what they've been through. And my counselor never could find me a place or a group of women who have been through what I've been through. And I don't think it's because y'all aren't out there. I think it's because y'all are scared to talk about it. And we can't be silenced forever. So before I get my emotions get any worse, I'm gonna end this one right here, y'all. Stick around for what happens next.